Paraphrasing basically means saying the same thing using different words. Here's an example. I need to run an errand, but I'll be back in a bit. I have a chore to do, but I'll return soon. Both of these sentences have the same meaning, but they use different words. Have a chore to do is a paraphrase of need to run an errand, and return soon is a paraphrase of back in a bit. So how does this apply to the reading test? For starters, the words you read in the text for each reading part will rarely be repeated in the questions. In fact, you shouldn't waste any time looking for word-to-word matches between the text and the questions themselves. Instead, keep an eye out for paraphrases. Here's an example of what I mean. This is a short text about the coyote, a type of wild dog. Coyotes roam through most of North America, including the 4 Atlantic provinces. As an omnivore, the coyote is interested in any animal fare, such as deer, reptiles, and rodents, but is also able to survive on berries or garbage. As coyotes become used to people, they lose their fear of cities and, when food supplies run low, they migrate to urban areas in search of sustenance. Here's what you won't see in a question. What happens when coyotes become used to people? They can be easily domesticated, they lose their fear of cities, their population often decreases, or they become more likely to catch diseases. They lose their fear of cities would be the right answer because those exact words are used in the text. But the test is never going to be that easy. Instead, you're going to see questions like this. Here, they become braver near human populations and they lose their fear of cities have similar meanings. The other choices have a completely different meaning from lose their fear of cities. We can say that braver near human populations is a paraphrase of lose their fear of cities. Not all the questions on the test are going to be like this, but in this video, we're focusing on questions on the reading test in which you'll have to identify paraphrases. Let's look at a couple examples. One from reading part 2 and one from reading part 3. To get a general sense of the type of paraphrases you need to look out for in the reading test. First, here's reading part 2. Keep in mind that on the official test, you will have more blanks to fill in than you see here. But for the purpose of this exercise, we're only going to have one blank. I'll read the passage aloud for clarity, but remember that on the official test, you will only read the text, you won't hear it. Here we go. Hey Natalie, got your message about Mom. You sounded worried about that new drug she is taking at Dr. Patel's suggestion, so I looked online and found this information for consumers. It does look like the right type of medication for people with arthritis. The information clearly states that you should not drink alcohol while taking it, so I can see your concern there. But as far as the pain not getting better right away, it does say that you can safely take it before being overly concerned. I think we can wait until Monday to call Dr. Patel. Cheers. Lee. And here are the options you can choose to fill in the blank. Every 4 hours, for up to a week, until it expires, 4 to 6 times daily. Okay, so the basic idea here is that Lee is writing to his sister Natalie about some concerns about their mother's medication. To answer this question, we've got to refer to the diagram. Here we go. Remember that on the official test, you'll be presented with the entire diagram, not just a part of it. But for this example, we're just looking at the directions section. You'll notice that the question doesn't use the same wording as the text itself. The diagram states that adults shouldn't take the medication for more than 7 days. That means that it is safe if you take it for fewer than 7 days. This essentially means the same thing as you can safely take it for up to a week. Therefore, we can tell that B is the correct answer. Now here's an example from reading part 3. This time, the text is an informative piece about garage sales. It's spring cleaning time again. Time to wash and put away all the winter gear, clean out the closets, and get rid of junk. As winter snow and ice melts across Canada, this decluttering process begins. The question is, what to do with the unwanted stuff? If you are left with unsold items, consider passing them on to the less fortunate through a local charity or give them to a store that specializes in selling used goods at low prices. Once you've cleaned up and everything is put away, don't forget to go back through the neighborhood to collect your signs. Okay, now here's a question for this part. If you can't sell something at your garage sale, you could donate it. Now remember that the questions are a little bit different for reading part 3. In this part, you've got to select the correct paragraph in which the information in each sentence is mentioned. Because of this, the ability to quickly recognize paraphrases is especially useful. In this case, we'll be choosing between paragraphs A, D, or E. E means that the question isn't in any of the paragraphs. Again, notice that the question doesn't use the same wording as the text itself. Instead of saying unsold items, the question says can't sell something. And instead of saying consider passing them on to the less fortunate through a local charity, the question says you could donate it. These terms have basically the same meaning though, so paragraph D is the correct answer. Another thing to keep in mind for reading part 3 is that sometimes the answer isn't mentioned in the text. In such cases, you should select E and move on. In other words, don't waste too much time stressing out over words in the questions that may not even be paraphrased in the text at all. Your ability to quickly recognize paraphrases can really help you here. And the more practice you get at identifying paraphrases, the easier this will become.